Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Wow, good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. New Right Network Tonight is the new network that we're on, and that is an old clip that we used this past year. We've now merged together with New Right Network Tonight, our New Right Network, and our show is New Right Network Tonight. Again, Brian Smith, your host tonight on Mondays and Thursdays. We have a very, very special guest on tonight. You'll be very excited. Miss Mary Kofefe. We'll have her on here in a few minutes, and we're going to be doing a review of the Unplanned movie that debuted this past weekend. I'll also get into all the details of what Twitter decided that they were going to do about the pro-life movie. But with that being said, again, folks, this is the New Right Network. We are the new media outlet. This is where you get the real news, none of the fake news. We expose that every single night, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And again, crush the share, crush the follow. If this is the first time you've been on the show, welcome again, and check out the site, smith.tv. Much obliged for your support. This could not be done without Patreons. Folks, Patreons is where this happens, where you get the real news out here at New Right Network. And again, as I was saying, our special guest, I believe we have her on, Miss Mary Kofefe, and you look down at the bottom of the screen, you can see her handle, and then I will get her up here. There we go. We'll do a little split screen, a little bit different, but at least we've got her there. Welcome, Mary. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And so this past weekend, I was plugged into the news, watching Twitter and Unplanned movie. It's at Unplanned movie. I absolutely recommend you go follow them. I followed them this weekend. And then the movie itself came out. Mary went to go see the movie, and Mary wrote an article for New Right Network. She is one of the head editors.
Yes, an editor. I'm an editor. Mm-hmm.
Great. And so you went to go see the movie. How did you hear about the movie, and what prompted you? Okay, I'm going to do this right now.
Well, I actually heard about the movie through Twitter. I didn't hear. No other outlet had it, and so I learned about it through Twitter.
I heard
believe
about
it or not.
Right, and I heard about it from you.
Right. So somebody doesn't want people to see this movie, but all I know is I heard about it through Twitter, and a global project manager was talking about it, and I said, "Hey, I'll go see it, and I'll get a review going." And so I did. I went and I saw it and wrote a review. So.
All right. So what did you think about the movie overall, just in general, just as a budgeted movie, this isn't a Hollywood movie. This is actually a documentary, but the quality of it, the audio, the video, the visuals of it, how did you feel about the movie in general?
Well, I thought it was very professionally done. The actors were splendid, actually. They rival and even exceed any Hollywood actor that I've ever seen. They did a fantastic job.
Excellent. And so the premise of the movie, how does the movie start out, and what's the basis for the movie?
The basis for the movie is the thing that Abby Johnson saw that caused her to decide to leave Planned Parenthood and go pro-life. And what she saw was when we were introduced to it at the start of the movie. Someone comes into her office. She's doing paperwork, and somebody comes into her office and says they need assistance with in such and such a procedure room. And she said that's the very first time she was ever asked to do that. So she goes in, and she's supposed to be operating the sonogram. Okay, so as she's operating the sonogram, of course, she's watching what she's doing, She has to get the fetus, as they would call it. She has to get the fetus on the monitors so that the abortion doctor can see it, so he can see what he's doing. And as she watches, the baby tries to escape the suction tube. And at one point in time, the suction tube pulls a leg off, pulls the baby's leg completely off its body. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. The baby is gone. And there is the line in the movie, the doctor said, "Beam me up, Scotty." That's how he got the nurse to turn his equipment on. Is "Beam me up, Scotty."
Wow.
So when they did that, first it rips the leg off the baby, and then the baby itself just is gone. One second it's there, and next it's gone. Sends Abby running for the bathroom, so that's where we start.
Okay, so just to kind of lead up to this, folks, Abby goes to college. She's introduced to Planned Parenthood, and she gets involved as a volunteer, and then actually gets hired on to then be the liaison, I guess. From
the director, actually.
Okay, but I mean, she first started out.
Yes, an attendant, a parking attendant.
Okay, explain that to me. That's the first I've heard of this position.
And I found that that is accurately depicted based on my own experience. But what they do is they send people out because there are protesters outside their gates. So they send people out to meet the women who are coming for abortions at their cars, so they can distract them from paying any attention to the protesters, right? And so they can get between them and the protesters, and then they escort them into the building, so that the protesters can't have a chance to talk them out of what they're doing, basically.
And I saw that the actual trailer, and the trailer where there were protesters standing out there that yelled at Abby and said, "You're always going to be a baby killer. You're always going to be a murderer." Now, I'm going to throw this out, folks. As a Christian, we've got to. I know how horrendous the abortion process is. I've seen the videotapes of the former doctors exposing how this is done. Watching this movie, you really get a sense of the horror involved in the actual procedure, and the damage that can be done to a woman, to her uterus, and the possibility of never even ever having kids again. But as a Christian, we've got to keep in mind that we're trying to win people over to our side to understand. And the name calling doesn't work, you know?
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, she helped, she had 2 abortions herself, and she helped a neighbor talk his daughter into having an abortion, and this whole aspect. And if that's ever happened to anybody that's listening, I know someone personally in my life. When I was younger, I knew a girl that had the procedure. Her mother took her. Her mother paid for it. But then again, in the 80s, we were raised, keep your mouth shut. You're a boy. You don't know no better. And for me to try and convince her otherwise was wrong. I think we're in a new day and age now, right, Mary?
We should be.
She said we should be.
We really should be. I've never espoused you're a man, so you can't say anything. It takes 2 to tango. You know, there's not just mama. There's mama and there's daddy. So I never understood that. I never espoused it, and I don't think it is right to shut a man up. It strikes me as a violation of a man's civil rights to tell him he can't, especially to tell him he can't do anything to save the life of his child.
Right. No, absolutely. And we've got new advocates nowadays that are outspoken for men's rights. If you are a man and you're in this situation, you can absolutely seek assistance to have this stopped, put on hold, go through court proceedings. I absolutely push for that. But yeah, again, I'm saying we're in a very different era than we were back in the 80s. Technology, what it is destroying the left, destroying the Democrats in every sense of the word. You've got the ability to do a show like this on a nightly basis very easily. There's your technology. And now we have exposing fake news. And now we have technology exposing to the world that from 6 to 8 weeks of becoming pregnant, the babies develop a heartbeat. And Ohio has just passed the heartbeat law, and I believe there's another state that just passed a heartbeat law. I think Georgia's trying to pass it. And the reason why I know is because all the liberal elites said that if Georgia passes it, we're boycotting Georgia.
Well, they can keep their celebrities. We'll let Georgia keep their babies.
No, absolutely.
Seems like a fair trade to me. Also, if you don't know this yet, a fetal heartbeat can be detected in as early as 3 weeks.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I guess I'm saying 6 to 8 because that's what the bill says. But that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal that we have that ability to do this. And again, we have been huge proponents here at New Right Network Tonight and Smith.tv for we are pro-life wholeheartedly, without a doubt. My co-host throughout the week, Carrie, my cousin, we talk about politics for years and years and years. Probably about 20 years we've been going back and forth with politics, he and I, and that's how this show developed. But at one point in time, he was raised atheist and then became a Catholic and can now argue extremely well for God, for Christianity, for Christ, and just literally destroy the atheist or the non-believers. But he at one point in time was in the same situation I was, that we shouldn't be telling a woman what to do with her body. And then he came to me and we talked about it. And he said, well, in extreme circumstances, rape, incest, life of the child. I said, well, as a Christian, we know life begins because of the miracle of God. Mm-hmm. And technically, and some of the other doctors have already said that the way to save a woman's life is to actually give birth. So technically, we advocate abortion in no sense of I just can't even fathom. I can't even give a situation where abortion would be an acceptable answer.
It's never acceptable. Never at all. There's been doctors out that said that at no stage of pregnancy should an abortion ever be. And if the idea is to save the mother's life, why do you have to kill the baby to do that? There's emergency C-sections. I talked to a nurse, and she said that the emergency C-section takes about 20 minutes from open to close.
Oh, there you go, open C-section. And then one of the other former abortion doctors said that if the baby is too large or if you're trying to dilate the cervix, he says sometimes it could take 24 to 27 to 36 hours to dilate the cervix in order to have an abortion. Where at that point in time, if the mother, the patient, is in serious health concerns, whether it be high blood pressure or some kind of a reaction or the sense, that would be too long.
Yeah, it would be more likely to kill her, wouldn't it?
Yes, it'd be more likely to kill her. Absolutely. So watching this movie, do you think this movie could change hearts and minds?
Absolutely. Hearts and minds, and can save millions and millions and millions of lives. I believe that wholeheartedly.
And in your article that you wrote, I'm only bringing it up because you wrote it. You tell a personal story yourself.
Yeah. I I was pregnant in 1996 with my then boyfriend's child, and he didn't want this child, and he told me point blank that were I to give birth to this child, he would hate the child. And so I figured, well, this child would probably be better off dead than having his own parent hating him. So I made a trip to Wichita to the Planned Parenthood. And when I was in there, I was very doubtful. I'm like, I don't want to kill a baby. I mean, I don't want to do this. This is wrong. And the technician, I won't even condescend to calling her a doctor. The technician showed me a jar that had a little white blob in it. I think I was about 6 weeks pregnant, and it shows me a jar with a little white blob in it. She said that's all it is. It won't even feel anything. It won't even hurt. You just clean it out, and you'll just go on. And she caused some doubts in me, so I thought, okay, well, maybe everything that I'd been raised to believe is wrong. And so I went ahead and I got an abortion. But as you know, of course, technology has been advancing, and over the course of years, I've been coming to terms with the things that they lied to me about, and the horror of what I had really done. So this movie was kind of a culmination of that. Just yeah.
And as Christians, we are all, every one of us. My pastor did a sermon, and he put 3 buckets up, Home Depot buckets up on a table, and he said the first bucket represents the sinless, which would be Christ. The far bucket on the right is the sinners, at all levels of sin, and the middle bucket. Some of you think, because you compare yourselves to others, some of you think you're in that middle bucket. And I'm sorry to tell you. And then he had all these pieces of paper, and he poured the middle bucket into the center bucket, which includes everybody. And that was the moral of the story, that we should not ever, 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 one, compare ourselves or judge anyone for any action, because there's not a single day that goes by that none of us sin. I mean, it just happens. It's the world that we live in, but by the grace of Christ, we're saved.
That's right.
So
that is correct. And I'm going to tell you one thing about this movie. This is when you bring up this point, and this is to your point. You go through this movie and you watch this movie, but you feel no condemnation for anyone on either side. No condemnation, no judgment, no nothing. It's just bringing you a very real truth, a very hard truth, but a real one nonetheless. And no judgment towards anyone who's had an abortion, towards anyone who has performed an abortion, towards anyone who has opposed abortion, towards anyone. It was a very compelling movie, an inspiring movie.
That's a very good point to make about the movie. Absolutely. And again, I've said this many times before on my show, folks, when you get to heaven and they say, St. Peter at the gate, he says, why should you be here in heaven? You look around and say, hey, I'm just looking for Jesus. He told me to meet him up here. And that's it. That's it. John 3:16, the only verse that I know of the Bible that I got memorized by heart. That's the only one I know, and that's the only one you need to know. With that being said, you guys, we really have to have compassion for these young, well, it could be older, could be middle-aged, but there's a lot of these young girls that don't know any better. And the girl that I knew personally, I think she was 17, 18, and her mom convinced her it was going to wreck her life. And that was it. It was done. She didn't know any better, and she didn't have, I guess, support to make a different decision. My mother works at a clinic where she helps out, and at a church type clinic where they intervene, they get involved, they provide support for young girls that are going through, whether to or not to keep the baby, not keep the baby. And she says the number one thing that they do is to get a sonogram as soon as possible. Because the moment, you got to understand, the moment that you know that there's a human being inside you, that's got to change you. It's got to totally change you. Aside from what the clinic, the lady at the clinic told you, it's a complete lie.
It was a complete lie. It was. Years later, I looked up, how they had developed uh, sonogram technology to the point where you could actually see the child in all of its stages, every single one, from cell development all the way to birth. And I looked up and that was really hard for me. I looked up an image that would show me what he actually looked like, and it broke my heart.
I can imagine. The young girl that I knew back in the 90s, this was 1991-ish, 91-ish, somewhere around there. I'd lost contact with her, but I had heard subsequently that within a year she was pregnant again and actually kept that one. I was reading about statistics. They say statistically, a lot of times a coping mechanism, if you will, that the girl will actually get pregnant again.
Yeah, I did. I did, and my main reason, I did it as a way of asking the Lord for a second chance.
Well, and I know He's given it to you. There's no question about it. And everything I know about Christianity and Christ, and I'm not talking about the people in the church, folks. People in the church are like your family members. You're going to have problems. Right. You're going to have problems with some of them. You might not like any of them, but it's not about the church. I left the church in my 20s because of the people in the church, and I blame them. I had to come to grips with it and understand that that's not what it's about. It's about your relationship with Christ. And
that's right.
And again, John 3:16. That's all there is to it. Absolutely. Something else. The main character, her name's Anne again. In real life?
The main character's name is Ashley.
No, Ashley. Mm-hmm. Ashley. Okay. In real life, she was interviewed on Fox News. Maybe I want to say 6 months to a year ago, and I'm just now thinking about it because we played it on the show. Mm-hmm. And she exposed all of this going on in Planned Parenthood, and she said that the goal was to get women on the pill and get women to start contraceptives, whatever it be, because they knew that the likelihood of them, first off, engaging in intercourse more often would exponentially increase, but the chances of them becoming pregnant would exponentially increase as well.
That's correct, because and the reason that they did that is because they are an abortion provider. They sell abortions. And if you don't have babies, you can't have abortions, and then there goes all their profit.
And think about it, folks. It's no conspiracy theory. We're just talking about the people who conspire to do this. Mm-hmm. It's a fact that if your business model is performing abortions, if that's your business model, and then we know by James O'Keefe with Project Veritas, undercover videos showing the selling of the babies.
Body parts.
Correct. In Texas and in Ohio, and I'm not sure about any other states, but I know in Texas and Ohio, judges have already passed rulings saying that the state can now withhold all funds from Planned Parenthood based on these videos. And so, right, exactly. So if that's your business model to sell body parts, how do you go about getting more body parts?
Well, you have to make bodies.
Right. This is the evil of the model. This is the evilness of the model. And when they talk about performing pap smears or other types of services for women in the health realm, I think the percentage versus their abortions is minuscule. Some of the numbers I saw were like 1% nationwide that they perform other services for women. So
if you look at the statistics, it's less than 1% of each of those services. So I don't know how in the world the bulk of their services is abortions.
Right, and one of the other undercover movies showed them calling Planned Parenthood, and the woman was asking about a mammogram, and she's like, "Nah, man, we don't do that. You go somewhere else for that."
Right? No mammograms, no pap smears. They didn't do birth control, none of that. We just had an abortion.
Right. So absolutely. Thank you so much, Mary, for coming on. Thank you so much for writing the article. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I really, really appreciate it.
That has been my honor, sir.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, catch up with Mary on Twitter at Miss Mary Covfefe and visit over on newrightnetwork.com. You can see all the articles that are written. Go through the website. And if you're over on smith.tv, there's a direct link to get you back to New Right Network so that you can see all the great writers, all the great articles that are coming out. Folks, this is real news, and we're exposing the fake news and exposing the left for who they are.
Amen.
Again, thank you again, Mary. Have a good night.
You as well.
All right. Wow, folks. Wow. Oh, that's all I can say. Let's switch gears real quick. And all right, got that shut down. All right, so folks, I fly solo on Mondays and Thursdays. My co-host is indisposed. So a little bit different format than when he and I are here together, but I want to play. This is on Unplanned's the at Unplanned Movie on Twitter. Check out the trail. This is the trailer and for the movie, and they're
in the other room.
Here.
Our first order of business is to present Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award. Abby Johnson.
This is Abby. She's our newest volunteer escort. Abby, this is Cheryl D'Alessandro.
I'd be the youngest director in Planned Parenthood history.
You'll actually be in charge of the abortions at your clinic?
I have a chance to make a real difference.
No matter what you do for the rest of your life, you're still going to be a baby killer.
The only thing that's changed is you, Abby. Can you even hear yourself talk right now about these procedures? These are little babies.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a job that helps women in crisis.
There's still a part of me that isn't sure.
I know. But the one thing that all experts agree on is that at this stage, the fetus can't feel anything.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room. Are you free?
I saw it. And it was like it was twisting and fighting for its life.
We commend the souls of these hundreds of children. And Lord, we pray to end abortion.
I really appreciate what you've done for us. I'll not forget it.
22,000 abortions. How do I even comprehend that?
Rough day at the office.
You can say that.
It's your dad and me. You are our baby from the moment of conception.
We are paying you to be a perfect instrument of corporate policy. We are an abortion provider.
I can't be a part of this anymore. Everything that they told us is a lie.
Don't underestimate the repercussions of this. You gotta be careful.
Rhonda, please don't do this! Rhonda!
Let me tell you what's gonna happen if you walk through that door.
Congratulations. You've made an enemy of one of the most powerful organizations on the planet.
And if you guys look down right underneath the video clip, you can see where I've retweeted this a tweet, and you can see to the right of it where the heart is, where you like it. That is unchecked. That is not liked. Folks, over the past couple of days, I have retweeted and liked this article multiple times because I keep checking back and it becomes untweeted and unliked. This is what's going on Twitter. This is what's been happening to this organization over the weekend. Let me pull up show notes real quick. The massive Twitter problem that Unplanned has had. At Unplanned Movie. Hey, at Twitter, where did 50,000 followers of Unplanned Movie go? The inbox is stacked up with messages saying we unfollowed each other. Hashtag Unplanned. Folks, that happened to me as well. They showed videos where they were videotaping a screenshot, and they were screen recording their own site where they would click the follow button, refresh the page, and it automatically unfollowed. This is definitely the silencing of the right. Just because we have it's not an opinion, but we know for a fact that you are wrong, Twitter, that you are wrong, Planned Parenthood, that you are wrong, Democrats. Because we know you're wrong and we're calling you out for the evils that you are, you go ahead and attack us with big tech and social media. This was opening weekend for this movie. This movie opened up in 1,700 different theaters nationwide. And on opening weekend, Twitter locked their account out, completely locked out. And then all of a sudden on Sunday, you could see where the followers dropped from 150,000 all the way down to 100,000. That's when she was complaining about, hey, where did all our followers go? Spokesperson said that, it's a glitch. It's just the way it is. It's the algorithms, and it's something beyond our control. But it's up and working, and it takes time once you're unsuspended or your account is opened up. It takes a half a day to propagate and to come back, and for everything to be put back in order. Folks, we're fighting the battle of our lifetime right now, whether it be this from the left or even the crazy nonsense, this insanity that of the new elected officials for the Democrat Party. This just goes right along with the silencing of the right at Doing Right One. Check this out real quick. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can't even explain what democratic socialism is when debating a Democrat. That is usually the first question I ask. The lies of the Democrat Party are getting so obvious, it will be interesting to hear the platform they run for presidency. That's without a shadow of a doubt. All right, let me rewind this.
It's really about having an economy where people have a full voting representation in how we make decisions to ensure that we have things like healthcare, housing, and education for all.
Oh, okay. So socialism in America will still be socialism, but democratic. An economy where we can forcefully steal from others and redistribute the wealth in the name of universal healthcare, housing, and education. But it's okay because it's democratic? In the wise words of Ben Shapiro, if you add sandwich to the word turd, it's still a turd sandwich. Much like socialism to democratic socialism.
This is what we are fighting 100% here on Smith.tv, here on New Right Network tonight. We have been fighting this all the way back since the very beginning of our program when we were Smith Radio. And you can still catch us on the iHeartRadio, folks. Just type in Smith space radio or go to iHeart.smithradio.com. Any one of those combinations, you can get to the show on iHeart when you want to listen to it audio only. But again, we've been fighting against this because we know what is right. What is morally right is for people to be left to their own devices, for them to be able to work, live, raise their family without the government intrusion dictating to us every minute and every second of the day what we should and shouldn't do. This, as we have, what can only be explained as an invasion. A complete and total invasion of the border. And I know some of the folks on the right have been saying that why doesn't Trump send the military, send the army down to the border, armed to the teeth with guns? They are sent. I'll tell you, the National Guard has been deployed. There are a few thousand National Guards that are being deployed to the border right now as we speak. You can't allow this to escalate into a violent situation to where the National Guard, the military, border security is now battling unarmed invaders. women and children, even men who are throwing rocks or whatnot. Okay, well, you're going to get shot for that. But women and children attempting to come across the border for safety and security because socialism on display in Venezuela, socialism on display, it turned to communism in Venezuela. But you've got Colombia and Honduras and Guatemala and Ecuador, and then even Mexico. Mexico is pretty messed up. And that's why they're all running this way. That's why they're all coming. And we've got to do something about our border and then shore up these countries. We've got to lock our border down and then work with these countries to get back in the right place. It's going to take lifetime. Folks, this is a 50 to 100-year project. This isn't an overnight thing. For you, Ann Coulter, that wanted the wall built on day one, you calm down, sister. The wall is being built. Better now than never. You didn't do any help by complaining and belly aching and acting like a spoiled child. But with that being said, Ann Coulter, this is a lifetime project. This is a 50 to 100-year project to getting rid of socialism and communism, to getting these countries to turn around to where their people can be free as we set the example here in America. This on Fox News, U.S. interior checkpoints focus on Mexico border. It's already happening, folks. It's already happening to where this is Fox News putting up pictures of border crossing areas that have been shut down so that you can no longer cross over. Donald Trump over the weekend said, absolutely, we're going to shut this thing down. If Mexico doesn't work with us, we are shutting this down. I know Trump is in talks right now with the Mexican government to make that happen. And we all agree. There's no question about it. There is a massive movement with 20,000, 30,000. I mean, it is enormous, and it's coming up from South America. 3 different countries from South America, all coming this way. This is how they flood the market. First off, even though they can't vote, they will flood the market. The census is being taken. They will skew the numbers in the census so that the Democrats will place these migrants in conservative areas or areas that they want to dominate. And these numbers will skew that area to completely throw it off with the count. And that's the problem we're facing right up front. The other problem we're facing is all the money. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars to do something about this. Folks, this is not a joke. They're saying that 1,000 people are arrested attempting to cross the border. Illegals attempting to cross the border. 1,000 a day. If they're arresting 1,000 a day, how many are getting through? I mean, this is a crisis with the likes that we've never seen before. This border crisis is just beyond what this country should ever be forced to accept. Folks, we can't accept this. This is just not acceptable. And with Donald Trump building the wall, it's going to take time. I mean, to do 57 miles, can't do that overnight. But this by at Jamie RODR 14. Fantastic. President Trump could shut down the border as soon as today. This is not a bluff. 4,000 migrants in one day is outrageous. Thank you so much for protecting our country at Real Donald Trump. Raise your hand if you agree. And here's the Fox video that is attached to that.
Today, President Trump could shut down the U.S.-Mexico border as illegal immigrants surge into our country.
Griff Jenkins joins us live from Washington with more on the White House strategy and Mexico intending to help. Hey, Griff.
Hey, Robin, Julian. Yeah, the president not bluffing, according to White House advisor Kellyanne Conway, who says President Trump is dead serious about closing the border.
It certainly isn't a bluff. You can take the president seriously, and here's why. You're giving those metrics. What he's looking at is that 4,000 migrants apprehended in one day recently. We're on track this month for close to 100,000. We have never seen a surge like this.
When it comes to the current numbers, according to BP officials last night, in just the Rio Grande Valley sector alone, for the past 9 straight days, they have seen more than 1,000 plus apprehensions per day. But closing the border could have a heavy economic impact. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce warning it could tank markets and endanger $1.7 billion of daily cross-border goods trade with Mexico. And some Democrats want to avoid that.
The idea of just using bluster and statements and we're going to close down the border, we're going to cut off the aid, that's not going to do anything. Let's work together, Democrats and Republicans. There are a lot of us who want to do it, to work together to actually address this problem once and for all.
This, as the president is cutting aid to the tune of $500 million to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. You see there, they're known as the Northern Triangle countries, where a majority of these migrants are coming from. And it's as Mexican officials say they plan to revamp their humanitarian visa program for approximately 2,500 migrants in southern Mexico on a limited basis starting today. That program was shut down earlier this year due to overwhelming numbers. It's going to happen down in Chiapas, where we have been and covered so many of the crossings. And it's also coming, guys, as CBP says that 40% of their agents are being diverted away from the actual border security mission to care for these overwhelming number of family units and unaccompanied children.
Yeah, it's a tremendous surge lately. Griff, thank you so much.
If that isn't enough to scare you, I don't know what is. We absolutely need to be calling our congressmen and congresswomen and stressing how we back Donald Trump and we back the wall. Pick up the phone, write a letter, do something. Don't think those letters go unanswered. They actually do. These letters get read by these congressmen and women. Phone calls help. They're very effective. And Donald Trump, America First agenda. Folks, if you want to keep America safe, we've got to build the wall and then help others. It's just like being on an aircraft. When the masks drop from the ceiling for the oxygen, you got to put yours on first before you can help your children. Come on, it's as simple as that. And so Donald Trump taking a proactive stance. Here's Donald Trump tweeting out this morning. Mexico must use its very strong immigration laws to stop the many thousands of people trying to get into the USA. Our detention areas are maxed out, and we will take no more illegals. Next step is to close the border. This will also help with stopping the drug flow from Mexico. I've talked a lot about that. A personal friend of mine who has a wife and 2 kids, and it's something that it's one of those devils that got a grip on him, and there's in and out of rehab multiple times. I mean the fentanyl, the heroin, all the stuff. It's just, I've seen it wrecking lives, wrecking homes. These children shouldn't have to deal with this. He shouldn't have to deal with this. And it's just unbelievable with the drug cartel and also the human trafficking. I've said this before, folks, it's all over the place down on the border of Mexico. Mexico and America, down there on the border, they're called rape trees. During the sex trafficking, they'll rape the women and children and then throw their undergarments into a tree for sport and then sell them off into the black market. This is serious. That's why a wall will prevent rapes and murders and drug trafficking. That's what this wall is for, and that's why it's a moral thing to do. For those of you that are Christians out there, and there's a lot of reports coming out that there's a lot of churches and Catholic outlets that are down there on the border rescuing illegals, helping them, a good Samaritan, if you will, to them. I understand the heart-wrenching situation when you look at individuals that have nothing and are fleeing their country to something. I understand your willingness to want to help and aid in these times. At this point, we cannot aid the invasion. Look at what's going on in Germany. Look at what happened. Look what has happened to France. France is not rioting over taxes. They've got an invasion, an Islam invasion, with the likes that they ain't never seen before. And France is well overtaken. Germany is well overtaken. We cannot allow, you cannot migrate an entire nation into another nation. It doesn't work. It destroys them both. Trump tweeting out again today, Democrats working with Republicans in Congress can fix the asylum and other loopholes quickly. We have a major national emergency at our border. Get it done now. And Trump tweeting out right after that one, can you believe the radical left Democrats want to do to our new and very important census report? Without all important citizen questions, report would be meaningless and a waste of the billions, ridiculous, that it costs to put it together. Again, flooding across the border, invading our country, wrecking the census, wrecking our way of life, innocent lives lost. Over the weekend, there was another police officer that was killed by an illegal alien. And that's just one story I ran across that I remembered. But there's thousands of stories out there of angel moms and angel dads that have lost loved ones. And angel mom does not specifically apply to you losing a loved one to the murder, an illegal alien murdering your child. Angel moms and angel dads actually refer to losing a child in any instance. And with that being said, we've got angel moms up in Chicago that are bleeding tears daily, but it doesn't fit the left's narrative. So we're not going to talk about what's going on in the black community up in Chicago. And as we kind of round this out a little bit, Soul Memes at SOLMEMS1. This is Soul Memes 1. I'm going to show you this. These are the folks you need to follow. I love Soul. She is, all intents and purposes, I'm assuming it's a she. She is absolutely awesome. She's forefront with all the memes. And this was her tweet that she put out today. Tell me again how walls don't work. Looks like they're working, thank God. She replied to at IDF, which is Israel Defense Forces. And as you can see in the video, there's 40,000 violent rioters in Gaza. Some armed with knives, explosives, and grenades are attempting to breach Israel's border and reach Israeli families on the other side of the fence. If our soldiers weren't there, they could. So think about that. This is what Israel is dealing with. And we're dealing with a similar situation, yet we need proper protection, without a doubt. And these Democrats, again, got nothing, no care for the American people. They've given up caring about black Americans. That's why we have hashtag Blexit. They've given up caring about Jewish Americans. That's why we've got hashtag Jexodus. And they've given up caring about pretty much anybody that used to be a Democrat. Hashtag walk away. This invasion from the South will destroy jobs that would normally be given to the youth, folks that are American citizens between the ages 16 and 23 when they're looking for their first job. This invasion will destroy that. This invasion will destroy our social safety net, the socialism that already is in America, because now they'll be on the welfare system with the likes that we've never seen before. And no, do not believe for a single fact that when the left says, no, they come up here for a good job and they don't get government assistance and it's minimal if they do. That's a complete, absolute lie. Donald Trump now passing in his tax bill, I believe, there was elements in there that were passed that stop, I believe it's welfare. There's welfare benefits and things that are being stopped now to those that are illegally in this country. Just anecdotal, just from my own personal experience, I left Cincinnati, Ohio. Back in 19 No, back in 2001, right after 9/11. After 9/11, I left Cincinnati. I was going to school at Purdue University. I left there too because I couldn't take the crazy nut job professors. And I headed out to Los Angeles. I know, not the smartest of moves, but that's where I met my wife. And it's the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. So, I did one thing right. And 2012, we came back. So 12 years later, I come back to Cincinnati. And I'm beside myself with the amount of Hispanics. Hispanic nationals that don't speak English have now flooded the city of Cincinnati. We went to one of the stores, one of the Goodwills, just the other day, over the weekend on Saturday, and I was floored by the amount of, and when I say illegals, folks, you could banter with me all day long about this. I lived in Southern California. Yes, you can tell if somebody no tienes papeles. You know if they ain't got papers. The way they look at you, the nervousness, the inability to speak English, and the way that they move away from you quickly so as to stay away or not get caught. Something. It's internally, folks. You can read it on somebody without a doubt. And the level that I saw at this store, this clothing store, I was shocked. There's a huge line. A lot of the Hispanics there. When it's your turn, one of the registers yell, "Okay, I have the next one." And they kept screaming that. It's because the guy next in line didn't even speak English. He didn't know what she was saying. We've got it bad. It is really, really bad. And it's about time that we stop this. Real quick, I'll round this out. The collusion delusion is out of control. At SecUSA1, mainstream media loses their mind after Mueller's report finds no collusion. All they do is lie, tell fake news, and drag down the USA. Retweet if you agree. This at Red Pill report. Boom, Lindsey Graham drops bomb, calls on everyone who signed off on the FISA warrant to testify. We've got at MAM65, MAM66, Mr. Michael. Do you think there is an issue with Comey's daughter, Maureen, being the assistant United States attorney for the Southern District of New York, who are opposed to supposedly investigating Trump, our great president, asking for a friend, hashtag Trump 2020 landslide? They are doing everything they possibly can to stop the winning of Donald Trump. They're doing everything they can to get their power back, to subvert the rule of law, to nullify Trump, to get rid of Trump, and to keep us citizens in the dark. Folks, we are woke. We are red-pilling people left and right. We are speaking and screaming from the mountaintops. That's why we do this show. So you share it, crush the share, crush the like. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and then hit the bell right underneath the subscribe so that you get the notifications. On the Facebook, definitely share this with your friends. And once you share this show, share it to your page. And then once you share it to your page, go to your page. And then you can share this show to 50 groups from your page's post. Again, let me repeat that. When the show goes live, it goes live on @Smith Radio on Twitter, and it goes live on New Right Network we're on Facebook. Facebook.com/Smith Radio and Facebook.com/New Right Network. It simultaneously goes live on Facebook. So share the show to your page and then go to your page and you can share the show again 50 times to 50 different Trump groups that you belong to. I'm serious. This is what we've got to do. We've got to get the word out. We've got to get the real news out. Don Jr. replied, you guys are going to see this. This is hysterical. Don Jr. is a funny guy. He's just a funny guy. Check this out. Don Jr. retweets with a comment and says, true story to at Elaine A. Plot. Sources say RNC and America First are prepared to attack reporters. Any reporter who tries to attack Trump will be hit with a 30-second spot of all their ridiculous claims about collusion. Their tweets have all been screen capped. It's all ready to go. This by The Atlantic. And again, Don Jr. retweeted that and said, true story. Folks, Trump and his family are fighting tooth and nail to make America great again. We've got to do everything we can to help them and to help make America great again as well. Again, as soon as Donald Trump leaves office, 2024, that's it. This is all we have. 2024 is coming very, very fast. We've got to be ready with the real news. We've got to continue to retweet our other Trump supporters when they come out with real articles. We've got to be able to retweet these out, and we've got to be able to make our case when we are in front of, a liberal or someone who's screaming about Nazi, sexist, bigot, racist, homophobe. We've got to be able to have the ability to articulate our position and explain to them how they're wrong. And this is why we continue to fight back again and again. I'm trying to find. I must have missed. Oh, well, we'll do this. And on a funny note, did you guys hear about Jussie Smollett? Well, apparently he was not invited to an awards show last night. And Chris Rock was told not to talk about it.
No Jussie Smollett jokes? Yeah, I know. A waste of light skin, You know what I could do with that light skin? That curly hair, my career would be out of here. I'm fucking running Hollywood.
So Chris Rock having a good night with that. At Zero Hedge, I can't find the particular article, but I've got to tell you about this, folks. At Zero Hedge on Twitter wrote an article apologizing to all the collusion truthers, all the Russian truthers. Oh, here it is. Here you got to see this. He wrote the article. Somebody sent me the article and said, Brian, oh man, you got to see this. It's over with. Here's the title of the article. Listen. John Stone leaked 401 page, hashtag Mueller report, proves Barr lied. Attorney General Barr lied. Collusion truthers and theorists are vindicated. Zero Hedge wrote this entire article. It is hysterical. The article, I opened it up real quick and I just read the first couple lines. I said, come on, y'all. It's April Fool's joke. And so I retweeted hashtag April Fool's Day at Rep Adam Schiff. The article goes into detail saying that Robert Mueller, the document leaked to the Washington Post from Robert Mueller shows that Robert Mueller had proof positive. He had the videotape of Donald Trump in the hotel with ladies of the night in water sports. Also had a videotape of Putin instructing Trump what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And it just goes on and on and on. And literally, he breaks down the entire BuzzFeed release of Christopher Steele's dossier, dirty dossier, and it is hysterical at the very end. And that's where you find out at the very end of the article, he just goes into it and he says, Obviously, we owe the world a very big apology. I'm sorry for calling the Russia Gators idiots, morons, drooling imbeciles, stupid, gullible sheep, phone brain, human livestock, tinfoil, pussy hat wearing, delusional conspiracy theorist, demented Cold War enabling McCarthyite, boot-licking, oafish, slug-headed slime creatures, energy-sucking, CIA coddling wastes of space and oxygen, and an embarrassment to the human species. Clearly, because of their indisputable vindication of this leaked of the leaked document to the Washington Post, this April, the 1st, 2019, they are definitely none of these. Guys, it's an April Fool's joke. It's hysterical. At Zero Hedge, got to follow him on Twitter. Check out the website. He's got great articles that they put out on a regular basis. He's active on Twitter by tweeting out his articles as well as news of the day, breaking news of the day. So I definitely stay plugged into him. And again, folks, you're listening to New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith. And tomorrow, my co-host, Carrie Smith, will be in studio. Wrapping up the news of the day, exposing all the fake news, giving you the real news. All the breaking news of the day, folks, right here on New Right Network tonight. Wherever you are, crush the share, crush the like, crush the follow, or subscribe, or whatever it takes. All right, guys. For Monday.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.
Monday motivation. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.